Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to do a quick introduction before we start the meeting. We have Councillor Janine Boulanger with us.
Good morning, everybody.
Councillor Ron Mamchuk.
Good morning, everybody.
Councillor Shane Pelche.
Good morning.
Councillor Curtis Clayton.
Hello, good morning.
We have myself, Mayor Chris Ewan, good morning. And we have our administration with us, CEO Mitch Duval.
Good morning.
And Assistant CEO Dominic Lemoine.
Good morning.
Okay, so we will start. I'll bring up item 1, special meeting call to order. Do I have a mover?
Councillor Mamchuk.
Councillor Ron Mamchuk, second.
Councillor Boulanger.
Perfect, thank you. I will be doing the same thing as the last few meetings where we'll be voting online and not by hand raise. So is everything open, Mr. CEO or Mrs. Assistant CEO?
We are good to go.
So I will ask council to cast their vote, please.
Are we doing discussion first? Oh, sorry, that's for opening.
Special meeting.
Yeah.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Councillor Pelche.
Yep, my bad.
Please cast your vote on the special meeting call to order.
I can't get in.
Refresh the page, Ron, and you should be able to open it up.
Nope. Hang on.
If you just want to give us your position.
Yeah, I got it now.
Good.
Thank you. Sorry with the delay.
That's okay. Mr. CEO, just give us just let us know once it's all done.
Shall do. Councillor Mamchuk, you did vote
Yes, I did.
in favor or
Yes.
against? Okay.
Yes.
So that will be 5-0 carried.
You didn't.
Thank you. We will
Not yet.
We will start the meeting at 9:08 a.m. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, C5 2020 planned unit development of 150 rental units, lot 2, plan 57238 IDC. Do I have a mover?
Councillor Pelche.
Councillor Shane Pelche, second by Councillor Boulanger.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, I will read the resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that conditional use application C5 2020 is approved with the following conditions. The applicant shall develop the property in accordance with the site plan attached to this order. The maximum number of rental units permitted under this order is 150 units. The applicant shall, for each building to be constructed on the property, apply for and obtain a building permit from the municipality. Number 4, the applicant shall, for each building to be constructed on the property, provide copies of stamped engineering plans to the municipality for review and approval by the municipality. Number 5, if outdoor yard lighting is to be used, the applicant shall ensure lighting levels do not cause any disruption or a nuisance to the neighboring area or roadways. The applicant shall provide an outdoor lighting plan to the municipality for review and approval by the municipality. Number 6, applicant shall provide a drainage plan prepared by an engineer certified surveyor to the municipality for review and approval by the municipality. On-site drainage shall not be discharged to or affect adjacent properties. Number 7, the applicant shall provide a certified engineered building location certificate upon completion of construction of each building on the property. Number 8, all construction on the property shall conform to the Manitoba Building Codes, Fire Code, and any other municipal and or provincial bylaws, permits, requirements, and approvals as may be required. Number 9, signage on the property shall comply with the municipality zoning bylaw number 9-2019. Number 10, that the applicant shall enter into a development agreement with the municipality addressing matters arising from this development, including construction of municipal services on the property and off the property, phasing of development, landscaping, parking, access, payment of fees and cost, security, site audits, and enforcement of the development agreement and this order. Number 11, this order is subject to revocation for non-compliance with a condition of this order or with a term of the development agreement. And number 12, the applicant will provide a signed confirmation accepting the terms of the order.
You're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute there. I'll open it up for discussion for council. We've heard from the public at our public hearing last week. We've received any letters in favor or objections. Does anyone from council want to start?
I'll start. I think I mentioned this at the public hearing, just about making sure we get our infrastructure in place. And I know that council will be working hard to get that going. My only concern is, we do not have control of that road. I don't know how much our efforts will do with the province to get control and get sidewalks and get all that done. It just worries me that we're going to be pushing ahead another project that it's not ready. The infrastructure is not there. It's not ready. I know maybe we should build and then you do the infrastructure, but I don't see the rush in doing this. And the public doesn't really know the whole project. If an open house were to take place, if that's possible, to educate them, I'm just feeling a little uncertain about the whole thing because it seems to be rushed and pushed through without proper notification and whatever planning.
That's some valid points. I'll just step in with a couple things. As for the infrastructure, I don't think the onus is on the developer per se. I think this is a council concern. I think it's a municipal concern as a whole, truthfully, because it's something we need to do is to continue to push the province. If that's by starting with a letter to the Minister of Infrastructure, our MLA, and then aggressively calling to ensure that we need the letter of ownership before we can start, because it sounds like it's in the works from what we've heard, but it's been taking quite a long time, as what the developers have said when they spoke to the province, and as what we've heard as a council. So I think the initiative comes onto myself and the councillor of the area, which is Councillor Shane Pelche, to aggressively and progressively push the government of Manitoba to hand over that road. It's in good condition. I think the infrastructure for Old 59 is there, the stability. I think it's just a matter of the side projects, the sidewalks, the connectivity into town, the roundabout access, or any safe access on the intersection, things like that. But again, at the end of the day, it's getting it over to the municipal government from the province. And I don't think that falls on the developer 100%. That's my first thing. And then the second thing was, I just want to mention that the open houses we have had, and Councillor Mamchuk, even the rest of council can attest, we've had open houses before for rental units, specifically in St. Adolphe. Councillor Mamchuk made a good point last time we talked. You can host an open house for rental properties. At the end of the day, I think we saw 6 to 12 people in total at our open houses for rental projects, because the people that are looking for rentals aren't in the town yet. So how do they hear about these things? How do they know there's an open house? It's really only the residents that don't need a place to stay because they have a place to live and enjoy our community from. They're the ones that are showing up. But we've seen in St. Adolphe where it's been a very low attendance. So is it really worth it? I don't have the answer, but I just know that looking from past experience, we've seen very little turnout for these open houses.
Yeah, I just think it would maybe help educate them, be more. So it seems like, you get all these letters of objections when a lot of the issues that they have that they're objecting to aren't valid, or, if they would just know what the project is, it would just feel better. That's all.
I agree with that too. I think education is always important. Transparency and communication for sure. That's how I ran my election and campaign. I also just want to to just say out loud, as I say all the time, you know, we're elected for a reason, and that's to see some of the background work that doesn't always come through to the public. We have to do the investigation. We saw a lot of objection letters on we have too many rental units. I looked at all of them. I looked at the statistics. We actually are at the right vacancy rate for more rental units. So 6 or 7 of those letters are, I don't want to say invalid because I always appreciate people commenting and sending in letters, but there was just no research done behind that. And there actually is a need for rental units in Ritchott. So I agree, Councillor Belanger. I really want the public to be engaged, and I think that there's an opportunity for education. I just don't know if an open house is the right answer for that. I think maybe it comes down to us as council creating an education opportunity, understanding the process, understanding, you know, the research that needs to be done. But it could very well fall on the developer as well. So I'm devil's advocate. I don't know what the right answer is.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from council?
I'll just chime in quickly here, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to applaud the property owners and community members who took the time to share their comments with us in writing. There were some very well worded emails to us. And there was also some very courageous people who shared their comments with us on the live stream public hearing. So I think in general, council says thank you to them. But, you know, for me, if this project were to move forward, we just need to make sure that we're prudent and that we take close consideration to their comments and just make sure that we do what is possible in the developer's agreement to mitigate their concerns. I know we talk about, you know, lighting, making sure that lights aren't, you know, shining into anyone's backyard. Maybe we can talk to the developer about finishing more of the landscaping on the periphery, on the outside of the development, if it were to move forward, but just some general comments. Thanks.
I appreciate that, and I agree 100%. I would like to see, if this did go forward, that we have someone from council stay on top of the development agreement, and I think the best person for that position would be someone from the area or myself. So Councillor Pelche, if you were on board and if this did go through, would that be something you would like to see as one of the councillors look at the development agreement from point A to Z?
100% on that.
Okay. Perfect. And then a couple other things I'd just like to say out loud. We don't have to confirm that because it's part of the development agreement, but maybe it's something council would consider before they vote is in order for this to go through in the developer's agreement, we look at some kind of, I don't want to say rental rate lock-in, but maybe ensuring that the rental, the pricing of the rental or the lease rates stay within that 10 to 15% average of other rental rates within Ritchott, and then that gauges, you know, the control of affordability, but also non-affordability. So I would like to see that in the development agreement. I don't know if that's possible or legal. Maybe Mr. CEO can jump in there, but that's one of the stipulations I'd like to see.
Hearing that pause, I would assume that's up to me now. That is something that we would have to check with legal for sure to see if we can put that within the development agreement. I have some hesitations regarding rent control and provincial rent control having some authority on the matter. So this is something we would have to check with legal if council wants to put that into the development agreement.
Fair enough. And then the other thing I would like to see is if the project, because maybe later on in year 2, when they've got to 60 units, this is just an example, they've got to 60 units and maybe that vacancy rate becomes 5% in Ritchott and then we don't need any more rentals. Is there an opportunity to have in the development agreement that they can phase in ownership sections? So now they have their townhouses, their area of development that's rentals. Now maybe the next phase, because the rental vacancy range is too low or too high, that they can look at converting it from lease to sale development. Would council like to see that to ensure that the project doesn't become halted and it just ends up not working? It becomes an opportunity of ownership. Thoughts?
I'd like to get to my time to add my concerns on this first.
Fair enough. Okay. Mr. CEO, is that something that we can look into though?
I think you could look into pretty much anything you wish. I guess it'd be up to legal counsel to do so. Just thinking out loud, we are advertising a conditional use for 150 units rental. If anything diverts from this conditional use, I believe we would require another public hearing to change that use, likely from ownership, from rental to ownership. So that would be, I think, another application for a conditional use. But there again, I would need to seek guidance from legal counsel.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to say that out loud, so maybe there was some thought behind it later on. So no, I appreciate knowing those facts. That's it for me. Councillor Pelche, you said you wanted to say some words?
Just wanted to bring up my concerns with the project. Councillor Boulanger talked about Old 59 a bit. That's a big one that we need to kick in the pants. It's been long enough. We need to get the west side of 59, Old 59 attached to town, both vehicularly properly at that intersection and for pedestrian use. I'm hoping to put forward with our money from budget this year to get something done there, even if we're stepping on provincial toes and end up having to redo a bit of it at that intersection. To look after that portion of things. My other concerns are sort of what you brought up, where they want to do it in phased approach. What does that look like? If they build the first 10 units going in from the road, and then they say, well, 50 is enough. What does the rest of the property look like? That's a bit messy for me. If they build 60 units and in 10 years they only rent 40 out, what are they going to do? Are they going to drop the rate and just, let anybody in? It's a bad terminology, but I walked around town yesterday, and our current, the 58 unit that's on Meadowlark right now, it's an awesome little community. It's looked after well, because it's not cheap to rent there. You're making a commitment to live there. I just want to make sure that we don't devalue living in Ildashane because a developer stops making money or can't fill his premise and just starts dropping the rates to fill it up. I want to know if we can do anything in the development agreement with that. Most of the concerns were accessibility and infrastructure. A lot of that is just highway and pedestrian. As far as sewer and water, I think we got that covered with Public Works already. And the developer is on the hook for that. I just want to know if we can, I like the idea of a public hearing. I know that it doesn't always get the turnout that we think it will, but there's a big...
You mean an open house?
An open house, sorry. There's a big disconnect with, let's call them the old timers in Ildashane and New 59. From someone who sits on MRPD, it's a perfect fit for that area. The condos, the rentals, the commercial. I don't know how to educate the town to tell them that this is a good fit. I'm wondering if a public hearing might, or an open house might bring us in the right direction to curb some of that animosity that's there.
So are you suggesting that in the development agreement, we look at entertaining an open house, 30-minute presentation of what we can expect as a community and why it's a good fit in our development plan? Or are we too late in the process that it just either way won't be of value?
I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately.
Fair enough. I just want to bring up the one comment about what's going to happen if they can't rent it out. Unfortunately, every developer takes that risk. I've been in real estate. That's the risk they take. That's why we hope as developers that our analysis, our research is done, and we as council hope that developer has done that research and analysis. I have done it. We don't have an economic development team. I've done a little bit of research. I keep stressing that we are at a 3% vacancy rate. We are fine. We need the rentals. I don't believe it when I receive a letter of objection saying we have too many rentals. We don't. We can see in St. Agathe we need rentals. St. Adolphe we need rentals. Île-des-Chênes and Grand Point are no different. There is a necessity for it. So hopefully the developers looked at that, and that's what gauged their want and desire to become part of the community as a rental developer. We look at other companies that moved into Île-des-Chênes. They saw a necessity. I'm sure the vacancy rate at that time was 1%. I don't really know. I don't think we can discriminate towards a developer because of what our worry is that they might not fill up. I think they need to do that research, and I'm sure they have done that research to invest $30+ million into a development, or to want to invest that much. So that's one thing that I have a hard time hearing, is they need to make sure that they can fill it. And what's going to happen if? Well, I think any development, rental, commercial, industrial, residential, in any community has that risk, but that's the risk that any developer is willing to take, because they believe that the project fits from what the research that they have has shown. So that's just my position on that.
Can I just make one last comment?
Yeah.
I agree with Shane. It's a perfect fit. I love the project. I think it would be great for Île-des-Chênes. I just really strongly feel that we're putting the horse before the cart. Is that the term? I don't see why we would have to push it through. If we can maybe hold off, do an open house, get our infrastructure with sidewalks and the highway, ensure we have that before moving ahead. The other rental the other condos, rental units to the north, those were built before anything was thought about infrastructure, about sidewalks, and that's all we kept hearing about, was how silly it was that they built these things before there was any thought put into moving forward. So I would really like to put our money into getting that all set up before we move ahead. I don't see the need to rush through this, and those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really don't think it's rushing. I unfortunately, the way government works is you have to build it before they come. I really believe that, and that's the only way we're going to see that infrastructure be turned over quicker. I truly believe that. Again, it's not an experience though. It's just from what I believe will happen is, unless we see development there, we're not going to get what we needed from the infrastructure aspect in terms of sidewalk approvals or infrastructure ownership. I think the province needs to see that we're making an effort to develop there, and the more we can develop on that side that fits, that's a blended community, the more likely they are to hand over the keys to that road so that we can connect Île-des-Chênes the right way. That's just my belief. We've seen it before in the traffic lighting incident. There has to be more incidents before a traffic light goes up. It's pretty much the same process for developments. It's the sad reality, but that's just how it works in Manitoba.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Manchuk, did you have any comments? I know that your community has been through this process a handful of times. Is there any words of wisdom?
Well, the only thing I can say is that to have an open house is a good idea, but I'm just looking at the list down here. And if you're going to have an open house, you're going to have those people who are objecting to it. Are you going to get any more people than that? I probably say no. And if people want to find out, they do research on their own. So I think they probably know what's going on. I think they're just trying to maybe play a little game with us. But like I said to you before, folks, is that listening to all these objections, that's always old Highway 59 issues, parking. We need green space, and we need walking paths, and we know that. I think we have to move on it. Don't have to wait till the public tell us what we have to do. We know that we have to get that done. It's in every community. Like they say, old El Deschênes, new El Deschênes, like St. Adolphe, old St. Adolphe and new St. Adolphe. We have to have that connection. But that corner there is a concern. I have to agree with you folks. Something has to be done, whether the clover leaf, lights, whatever. But I think the project would be, it's a beautiful site, and I would hate to see it not go through, to be honest with you. And rentals is a requirement in our RM right now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mamchuk. Anything else from council before we call for the question?
Not here.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No.
Okay. Mr. CEO, go ahead.
Okay, then I did read the resolution already into record. Any amendments or additions to be had to that resolution? And if not, Mr. Mayor, you could proceed with the vote accordingly.
Thank you. Okay, I will ask council to cast their vote online, please. I'll give you 3 minutes here.
How come I can't get on here all the time?
Sometimes you just need to keep refreshing it.
Okay,
I'm finding today the internet is very slow at the office.
I'll try it again here. Maybe we'll have to get Dominic over here.
Councillor Manchuk, are you in favor or against? Because everybody
for
else
it.
has casted their vote.
I just can't get through there. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm for it.
You are
Mr.
for it. Okay.
Yes, Mr. CEO. Thank
So
you.
therefore, the vote is now recorded as 3-4, 2 against. The motion would be carried. The people for would be Councillor Clayton, Councillor Mamchuk, and Mayor Ewan. Against, Councillor Boulanger and Councillor Pelletier.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. We will move on to 3, adjournment. Do I have a mover?
Councillor Mamchuk.
Thank you. Second.
Councillor
Councillor-
Pelletier.
Councillor Shane Pelletier, thank you. Any comments before adjournment? Please cast your vote.
The vote is carried 5-0.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned at 9:34 a.m. Stop recording.